Hey guys, welcome. Today we are with a legend in football, a legend to us all, Matt Tissier. Hey Matt, how you doing?
Very good, thanks, Stu. And you?
Very well indeed, very well indeed. Well, Matt, thank you for joining us for a little while here. What I want to do today, Matt, is I want to share with the folks a little bit of your golfing history, your golfing insights. We know what a huge name you are in as a professional sportsman in football. Uh, but you've got another passion, and that passion is our favorite sport of golf. Tell me, Matt, how and when did you get into golf?
So it was really odd because growing up as a kid in Guernsey, I played most round ball sports, and but strangely enough, golf was the only one I didn't really play. I didn't grow up in a family that had money, and it was quite exclusive back in those days, and quite expensive to join a golf course. We had like a couple of little putting greens in Guernsey that we used to go and mess about and have a game on, and there was a little pitch and putt course at a hotel, which was right next door to where I was living in Guernsey. I had a couple of goes on that, but it didn't kind of really grab me at that age. And I did a little bit of caddying before I left Guernsey to come over to Southampton back in 1985. Caddied a couple of times for a couple of old blokes at my local golf club, and I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed being out in the fresh air and watch them. But I do remember thinking they're not very good at this game. And so then I moved to Southampton, and I started my apprenticeship at Southampton, obviously at 16 years of age. And when we had a little bit of spare time, a few of the other lads would go up to the local municipal golf course at Southampton, and so I thought, oh, I'll tag along, go up and see what happens. And they had a little 9-hole course and an 18-hole course. So I started on the little 9-hole course, and I can remember just like because I was quite good at cricket growing up, and I thought, oh, it can't be much different to cricket. Just pretend there's a ball coming down, I'll smash it. so, so I started playing golf with a cricket swing, basically, and I had the biggest slice you've ever seen in your life. Like it was controllable, but it was like a 40-yard slice
I
every
bet you
time.
hit it miles though. I bet you bashed it out the park.
I could hit it quite a distance, yeah, but it always had this massive left to right curve on it. So if I stood on a tee box and there was trees down the left hand side, I couldn't play the hole. It was no way I could play it. So
Oh,
but I loved the challenge of it. So I started kind of working a little bit at trying to straighten my trajectory up.
yeah.
Then I got the first few years I only played kind of very occasionally, and then I kind of started thinking, oh, I think I quite like this game. But obviously, I was still playing a lot of football. It was pretty difficult to get out on the golf course on a regular basis in those days. So I was kind of sporadically playing golf up through my early 20s, and then kind of in the mid 90s, I joined Stoneham Golf Club,
Right.
and and that is where I met Richard Bland, who now is plying his trade on the
Blandy,
Live
big
Golf
name
Tour.
in golf. What a hero, Blandy, yeah?
Yeah, so Richard was the assistant pro at Stoneham when I joined there in I think it was 1996, and I played a couple of games with him. We got on great. We became very very good friends very quickly, to the point actually where Richard actually lodged with me for a little while when I was single. He took one of my spare rooms, and we had some good nights out, and we bonded over a few drinks in the local bars and clubs in Southampton. And it was kind of then that I was starting to take my golf a little bit more seriously, and I wanted to. And Richard gave me a few tips, and I played with some other guys, a young lad called Ben Johnson, who was a pro down this way, and they were giving me little tips on how to, stop me slicing the ball quite so badly.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I worked on it, and I loved it. I fell in love with the game. I then, I don't know if this is purely coincidental, but I joined Stoneham Golf Club in 1996, started playing a bit more golf, and in 1997 I got divorced. So I don't know if those two things were connected. But I then had a lot more spare time on my hands. After I got divorced, so that was when I really kind of threw myself into golf in a big way, and just couldn't wait to get out on the golf course at every opportunity that
Yeah,
I had. And
yeah,
the last kind of 4 or 5 years of my football career, You know, I took my golf a bit more seriously, and you know, I love getting better at it. And I think by the time I finished playing, I think my handicap was 8.
Oh, well
By the
done.
time I finished playing as a footballer,
Yeah.
and then just after I finished playing, well, actually, the year before I finished playing, the summer before, Richard Bland was playing on the Challenge Tour, which is now the Hotel Planner Golf Tour, I think they call it these days.
Right.
And he said to me, "Oh, do you want to come and caddy for me?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool." So I went down to France to an event in France that he had, and it was the weekend before I was due to start pre-season training for what turned out to be my last year at Southampton. So I'm caddying for him in this event, and he was doing pretty well. He was like right up with the leaders, but I had to get back to Southampton Sunday night so that I can be ready to go into training Monday morning.
Yeah.
And so I booked my flight for I think it was about 5 o'clock on the Sunday. But of course, where he'd done so well, he was one of the last groups out. And I was like, "Oh no, I've booked my flight here. I can't get a later flight." And so I caddied for him, but I had to leave after 9 holes. Right. So 9 holes of the final round, he's in contention. He's like, I think he was 1 or 2 off the lead. And I had to leave. So I had to literally dump the bag on the 10th tee and go, "Sorry, mate, I've got to go."
Oh, that's amazing.
So I get my flight back, and then obviously I get back here and I look at the results to see how he'd done by the time I got back, and he absolutely blew up on the back 9. He shot about 4 or 5 over or something on the back 9, completely tailed off.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Blimey, mate, you really did miss me, didn't you?"
You know, we should ask him. We should ask him what he remembers of that. I bet that's a good story.
Yeah,
Brilliant thing.
I'll ask him next time I see him.
Oh, fantastic.
I played my last season at Southampton, but during that time, Richard then plays the Challenge Tour, and he ends up winning his tour card for the following season. But after I'd caddied for him on that day, he said to me, he said, "If ever I make it onto the European Tour," he said, "you can come and caddy for me in an event." All right, so I was like, "Oh, cool." So anyway, he goes to the Challenge Tour final. He ends up winning it and getting his card for the tour the next season. So I then retire the following May, and so he said to me, "So I said, right, come on in." He said, "I'm on the tour." He said, "Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?" So I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." I said, "I love Loch Lomond, and the Scottish Open was being played at Loch Lomond back in those days."
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, I'll caddy for you at Loch Lomond." He went, "Yeah, brilliant." So I did. Went up there and caddied for him. He made the cut. I think he finished 21st. You know, made a good few quid. You know, he paid for like all my food and drinks at my hotel. I didn't obviously take a percentage of his winnings, but he paid for me for everything that week. And he said, "Oh," he said, "that was pretty cool." He said, "Do you want to do another one?" So I was like, "Yeah, okay." So, and at this point, I'd just been invited to play in a charity celebrity event out in Singapore.
Yeah.
And it was right before the Singapore Open, which Richard was playing in. So I said, "Oh, well, I'm coming out to Singapore." I said, "I'm going to be playing in a little golf comp before you play." I said, I'll caddy for you out there." And he went, "Yeah, cool, okay." So anyway, I go out there, and he ends up missing the cut. Unfortunately, it was a tough course, Laguna National, I think it was. Really tough course. He misses the cut. But, you know, we had quite a good time. And he went, he said, "Do you want to do another one?" And I went, "Yeah, all right." I said, "Next month." This is how these things work. So the following month was the Heineken Classic down in Perth.
Yeah.
Now I was good mates with Alan Mullally, who plays cricket for Hampshire, and Alan was living in Perth. He'd moved back down to Perth, and so I said, "Oh, I'm going out and visit Alan Mullally next month." I said, "I could come like the week of the Heineken Classic and caddy for you out there." So he was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." So I then went down to I went home from Singapore for a couple of weeks and then flew back down to Perth, and we had a lovely time in Perth. But he missed the cut. I played in the pro-am of that event, but he missed the cut, and he missed it by a few. But there was a point at in the second round where we knew he had to make a few birdies coming in, and I'll never forget, he had this. It was about 230 yards into this par 5, and he really needed to eagle it to give him a chance. and he was talking over this shot. Sorry, that's my dog going mad. I do apologise.
He's a good boy.
So he's talking over this shot, and I'm saying, well, I said, Rich, I said, you pretty much got to eagle it. I said, you got to go for it. And he was like, well, he said it's there's water on the right. He said there's a bunker on the left. He said I think I'm just going to try and hit it like to the left hand side of the green because it's I don't want to put it in the water and completely blow my chances. And I was like, well, you got to eagle it, really. I said, you just go for the flag.
What a chance,
I said, you're a good player. I said, just go for the pin. So anyway, he didn't take my advice and he hits it into the left trap. And then he failed. He doesn't get it up and down for a par. So anyway, he ends up missing the cut by a few. And we went out that night in Perth, me and Alan Mullally and Rich. We were having a few drinks, and I brought up the conversation about this shot into the par 5 on the back 9.
Yeah.
And I was like, Rich, that par 5. I said, do you not think like you should have gone for it? and he turned around. I think he said something like, if you're going to take a penalty, he said, would you come and ask me what to do when I was in the crowd? And I just went, fair enough.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And funny enough, he's never asked me to caddy again since then.
Oh, man, that's brilliant. Are you still in contact with Richard?
Oh, yeah. We're still very good mates. Yeah, I'm playing with him in the Stoneham Pro-Am. My golf club here at Stoneham was where Richard was the assistant pro. We're playing in the Pro-Am in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh, man, I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you both. What a great friendship and what a great story. I love it. Can I ask you, what did you take for your game from your association with Richard? I mean, what did you learn from him?
So I missed this bit out, actually. So when I caddied for him at Loch Lomond, I that week, I learned so much about the short game and about the different clubs that the pros would take around the greens for little chip shots. Because I was like, as I said, I was playing off 8 at the time. But every time I was, just off the green, I'd take out my 58-degree wedge and I'd flop it up and
hang it up in the air.
Flick it up in the air and occasionally I'd knife one and end up double bogey in the hole. And I saw that these pros were taking a lot of different clubs around the greens. They weren't always just automatically getting their lob wedge out, and they were hitting like little bumper runs. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's quite cool. I'll take this on board." And I went back to my game, and within about 2 weeks of caddying for Richard, I dropped 3 shots.
Shit!
Just because of my club selection around the green changed. And I was a lot more sensible about the shots that I was playing around the green. Yeah, so I dropped 3 shots very quickly. Wow.
So watching him made you think about what you were doing.
Yeah, not just him, the players that he was playing with as well. Back in the.
It wasn't about changing your technique. It was just about putting a bit more thought into it.
Yes. Just not automatically just taking the lob wedge out when you miss a green.
Wow. What's the lowest you've been to then? What's the lowest handicap index that you reached?
I reached when the new handicap system came. Under the old system, I got down to 3.2, and then when the new system came in, I'd had a few decent rounds, in the lead up to when they changed it, and then when they changed it, I'd kind of gone down to like 1.5 or something, without doing anything because the system changed, and then I had a couple of really good rounds. Like straight after the system changed, and I got down to 0.8, and I was like, "Oh my god, 1 shot! I can't play this game with just 1 shot." and then it kind of went, I found my level eventually. It kind of went back up to 3, and I stayed there for quite a while. And then I've been kind of hovering between 2 and 4, and then this year I had a bit of a bad start to this year, and I went up to 5.4. I was just starting to come back down again now, but I'm at 5.1 at the moment.
Do you get that as you're getting to 5.4 and you're thinking, Christ, if I 3-putt the last year, I'm going to go out to fucking 6. Do you get that sense of, oh no? Do you get?
Oh yeah,
this cannot be happening.
I know exactly where I am with regards to my handicap. Yeah, I'll know when my good scores are coming off, and I know what I've got to shoot to not go up anymore. So yeah, it's a constant battle, and it's been a tough few months actually. It's really easy to get disillusioned with the game, I think, when you go through a bit of a bad spell. But it's also important to understand that just like football, nobody can be great all the time. You know, you're going to go through peaks and troughs, and you've got to understand. And when you're going through the trough, that things will turn around. You just got to be patient.
Here's one for you. Clearly, you're a sportsman of incredible achievements in your life, a career professional sportsman since you were a boy all the way through to full maturity and so forth. And now you're playing this game here, which is so frustrating. It makes you want to hate yourself. What are the differences and the frustrations that you found in your football career to the frustrations you find in a game that you actually play for fun?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, football was frustrating, but the thing with football was if you could be having a bad game, but you can still win. You know, it's very rare at golf that you have a bad game and you win.
Yes.
It's so you in a team sport, it's a very different thing, and your motivation is different in a team sport because you know you could be having a bad day, but you're still going. Oh, I'm letting my mates down here. I need to sort this out, and you know I've got to try and do something. Whereas in an individual sport, you've not got that to fall back on. You know, so you've got to find a different motivation because you're not doing it for your teammates. You're not letting anybody down apart from yourself.
No.
So it's very easy to then just kind of go give up. You know, and there have been times when I've had to learn that if I bogey 4 out of the first 5 holes of the round, it's not the end of the world. You know, there are birdie opportunities, and you can still kind of put in a decent round. So, but I never used to think like that. Like
That's interesting. That's an interesting thought because I imagine you developed that when your handicap got low.
Yes.
Yeah.
It started to dawn on me that when I was making birdies fairly regularly, that it's not the end of the world to be 3 or 4 over par early on in your round.
Because you know you've got 3 or 4 birdies in the bag. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would your advice be then, as an experienced golfer, to our colleagues that are in the mid-teens and so forth? What would your advice be to them for keeping present and for keeping the faith?
I think the first thing I would say to somebody like that is lower your expectations, because they're all capable of playing a hole really well.
Yeah,
they think that they should play every hole really well, and they get really down very quickly when they don't play a hole well. But your handicap is there for a reason. So when you have a bad hole, there's a reason for that, because you're not consistent enough, and that's why your handicap is where your handicap is. So don't get put off every time you have a bad hole, and don't get too down on yourself. That would be my best bit of advice.
that's good advice. Bloody difficult, but good advice. Can I ask you, what was your lowest gross? Your lowest gross score?
I shot 67 at my course at Stoneham just after I turned 50, and that was 5 under.
Brilliant. How did that make you feel?
Oh, I was on top of the world that day. Honestly, I went to bed that night and I was just playing the entire round in my head over and over. You know, I couldn't get to sleep. I was like, "Oh, that's amazing! I wish I could do that every day."
If you do that every day, Matt, you'd be world famous for another reason, wouldn't you? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. How would that feeling you had there when you shot that? How does that compare to, say, for example, your most proud moment in your football career? What's the difference in the feeling?
So I would describe that as kind of relaxed contentment.
Right.
Shooting a 67, to be able to look back on that and think, "Oh, that was an amazing day." Whereas you pull on an England shirt and you walk out of Wembley for the first time. That's not relaxed contentment. That is like pure adrenaline rush. Amazing, like culmination of a lifetime's ambition. Basically, as a kid, all I wanted to do was be a professional footballer and play for England. So the minute I did that was amazing.
I'm getting goosebumps when you say that, fella. That's just incredible. What a feeling! I wish I could. I simply can't relate. I can understand what you said. Relaxed contentment. I hadn't thought of it in those terms, but you're right. That's exactly what we feel when we play a good game. Relaxed contentment. You think, beautiful. But comparing it to the stuff that you've experienced is something that 99.9 of us simply will never relate to. So it's magnificent to be able to share that with you. So thank you for that insight. That's tremendous.
No problem.
No. Now, I'm lucky enough, Matt, to have the privilege of arranging your golf classic over in Spain coming up in November.
Yeah.
Have you played much golf in Spain?
A fair bit. Yeah, fair bit down the years. Went to La Manga about 10 years in a row, playing the Footballers Golf Classic down there. But I've also played a bit around Porto Banús and around that area, and I've played La Cala. Went there with three mates on a little golf trip about, oh blimey, I think that must have been pre-COVID. That must have been like 2018, 2019,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to going back there. I enjoyed the courses, and
They're great. They
yeah,
are great courses, and that's where we're hosting your event this year. Is at the America, Asia, and Europa courses at the Cala Golf Resort. Fantastic golf courses, and each one is a different test. Now, what would you say as a low handicapper? What would you say your strengths are now? When you go and play a course that you're not familiar with, what are your strengths? What are you going to turn to get to get you around these courses in decent shape?
So I think probably at the moment I would say my short game is my chipping and putting is not too bad. I think that's where I save a lot of shots because my iron play is a little bit inconsistent. So I miss a fair few greens. So I've got to rely on my chipping and putting. And normally my driver is normally pretty straight. However, having said that, I played on Tuesday and it wasn't really behaving itself for the first 9 holes, and it took a while to work out what I was doing wrong. So, but I love that challenge. I love the challenge of like trying to remedy things in the middle of a round because it's not going very well. I love that. I love that challenge that golf brings you every time you step out the course because you can't. We're not good enough to take the same swing out on the course every time we go out.
Crikey, no, absolutely right. It's all about mitigating various factors, and mitigating how your body feels today, which joints aren't working quite so well, and so forth, isn't it? Excellent, that's good.
Absolutely.
Are you a big practicer, Matt?
I haven't been normally down the years, but about 4 or 5 years ago, our golf club at Stoneham put in a brand new driving range. And it's a beautiful facility. You know, it's got the TrackMan stuff on there. It's got a lovely chipping green right next to it. So the last few years, I've practiced more than I've probably ever practiced in my entire golfing career, really. So yeah, I enjoy practice. So I quite enjoy going out and hit balls and trying to work things out.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Are you a great technician of the swing? Do you play by feel, or do you?
No, yeah, I play by feel. I don't have a particularly pretty golf swing, but I've got some decent coordination. I've got good, ball to hand coordination, and I can blag it a little bit really. I use my natural ability to get over the fact that my swing isn't particularly textbook.
That's an interesting thought. What swings are textbook? I suppose you look at Rory. That's as pretty as it gets, isn't it? Or Adam Scott. That's as pretty as it gets. But the rest, there's such a myriad of swings out there, and all you got to do is, who was it that said, "Just swing your swing, just swing your swing"?
Yeah, I think one of the swings that kind of made me fall in love in golf. My first golf hero was actually Ernie Els.
Yeah,
I just
easy.
loved the effortless power that he had in his golf swing. It was just amazing, and that I think his swing was kind of what really got me into loving golf and trying to get better at the game. And it was lovely when I caddied for Richard at Loch Lomond in that Scottish Open. After I think it was after the second day, Richard went out and hit some balls on the range, and he said, "Will you come and watch me hit balls?" So I stood behind him, but in the next bay was Ernie Els, like
Really?
hitting balls on the driving range, and I was like, "This is my golfing hero."
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really watching Rich; I was just watching Ernie hit the balls. And so when Richard finished, I said to Rich, I said, when Ernie finishes, do you mind just if I have a photograph taken with Ernie?" So he went, "Yeah, yeah." So I'll go get my camera. So anyway, he comes back and Ernie's just about to finish, and he came off the range. And I said to him, I said, "Ernie, I said, I'm a big fan of yours." I said, "Would you mind if I had a picture taken with you?" And I said, "I think you're a great golfer." And he looked at me and he went, "You're a great footballer too, mate." And I was like, "Oh my God, Ernie Els knows who I am."
Wow, amazing, Matt.
So that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. Well, Matt, we've got a fantastic itinerary lined up for you and your guests when you come over in November. We've got 3 days of golf. We've got a welcome cocktail for the first evening where you're going to get to meet the guys, say hello, and get to meet everyone. We'll have 3 days of golf at La Cala Resort, after which we're going to gather for a quick beer in the clubhouse afterwards, go through the scorecards. And then, of course, we've got the gala dinner, the prize giving, and the highlight of the week is going to be spending some time with you and hearing some of those wonderful, wonderful stories that you've collated over a lifetime of achievement. What kind of experience do you think the guests will take, your friends will take from joining us in Spain?
I think they'll have a fantastic bit of winter golf, which is always nice. To actually get out of this country in November is a pretty good thing to do. So that'll be pretty good. The courses are amazing. You know, I love my time out there, as I said a few years back when I played over on the 3 courses. And then obviously the après golf will be just as entertaining. You know, we'll go out, we'll eat together, we'll drink together. You'll get used to ordering me a Malibu and Coke if you want to buy me a drink, because that's the only thing I really drink. And so I think it'll just be a wonderful time, swapping golf stories from the course, from our experience in our lives, but also from the days that we've just played, because, you know, us golfers like to have a chat about our round afterwards.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The banter's everything, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Everything.
It is indeed.
Yeah, nice one.
What's really interesting is I don't really keep a lot of memorabilia, right? But I've got my scorecards. I was just going through the little drawer here that I've got in my office, and I've kept a few scorecards down the years. So that was one of them. So I played.
Yeah.
So I played East Lake, and on the same trip, we also played this place, which wasn't too bad.
Well, not too bad at all.
Yeah. And there's my scorecard. As you can see, it wasn't a very good front 9.
Bloody
the back
nine, though.
The back 9 was level par. First time I'd set eyes on the course. So that was pretty cool. But one of the ones that I have kept is this one.
Campo America.
So, and on it is me and my 3 mates. We kept our scores from the rounds that we played, and I took all the money that week, which is why I kept the scorecard.
as always, a consummate professional, Matt. Well done, fella. That's tremendous. Well, Matt, so we still have some spaces available from the 26th to 30th of November. My email address is going to be attached to this, and guys, get in touch. I look forward to meeting you all. And Matt, I can't wait for us to enjoy a fantastic week of golf in the sun. It'll be great company, great banter. Can't wait.
It will indeed. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, and very much looking forward to meeting the 23 other recipients who are going to come and join, and we'll have a fantastic time where we will create lifetime of memories.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Matt, thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon. Cheers now.